Hello, I'm Barbara Drattina, and I'm the founder and CEO of the company Wellness Matters, You Matter. And I wanted to make this short video today to really explain and shed some light on my services because I have been doing some diverse things. And I thought, people aren't quite sure what I'm doing, how I've combined things. And I think it's really, really important as I'm developing some things. And also, people need the services. Things are very shorthanded right now with what we are going through. And I realize that I've been sort of invisible and quiet about it. And so I've always been someone involved with health. I mean, I started off in the hippie time and I belonged to co-ops and had big gardens and learned how to can and freeze. And I was very much into very holistic things. My family, my mom didn't really cook a ton, but you know what? We rarely had canned or frozen things. We had a balanced meal, meat, a potato, a vegetable, but everything was always fresh. We did have Jello. We didn't drink Kool-Aid. So, those are some really good roots. It wasn't extreme and extremely holistic, but, I grew up with pretty great nutrition. And I'm grateful for that. And so fast forward to, being in the hippie time, that was a really big deal. And it put an impression on me. And I've lived in the Caribbean early in my life and my 20s after getting married, and fresh fish, and people were growing their vegetables, and it was very expensive there. You didn't have a lot of goods coming in. It's very different now, but still it's quite expensive. And you can grow things prolifically. You have mangoes, you have papaya, you have avocados, you have all of those things just on the trees. So I'm really fortunate to have had a lot of that. So I was really intrigued when a news anchor had introduced me to something called Nutrigenomics. And this person is a 3-time breast cancer survivor. And I had been really in very holistic skincare and makeup because I was watching the things and the chemicals in all of our products, and going to work and getting older, I felt like, you know what, I need to start wearing more makeup. And in Europe, they don't have all the chemicals that we have. So the company I was with was really a forerunner. There were no phthalates, sulfates, all kinds of, and no mineral oils, and very plant-based, and and that was really good. And I did something for women surviving cancer, because then people start looking at labels. So I went to hear this talk on healthy living by the news anchor, and I went, oh my goodness, I learned about nutrigenomics. I mean, that's a huge difference. Nutrigenomics, it's nutrition activating your genes, as opposed to trying to figure out a recipe of supplements that you think your body needs. And of course, you need to eat this to have that. This needs to work with that. And, it's a big science, but your body knows what your body needs. But we are overrun with the amount of chemicals and pesticides and food additives and EMFs that we are exposed to. It's almost like an overflowing bathtub. Our body can take so much, but not overflowing amounts. And that's really the world we're living in right now. So that really started an up-level journey of nutrition and health. And at the time, I was dealing with tremendous stress and trauma after a very high conflict divorce. And nutrition and physical health is hugely important. And I learned some different tools to be able to manage my stress. And that got me intrigued into emotional wellness, which I want to talk about today. I've married these couple together with Wellness Matters, You Matter, because to me, you cannot have one without the other. Our emotional wellness contributes to disease. Dis-ease equals disease. And if you start taking away a lot of the stress and overload on your body that manifests itself in very significant ways when we are not don't have tools or have experienced a lot of trauma. So I was going through tremendous trauma at the time of my divorce, which was a mutual decision and never anticipated things going to the way they were. And I really want to speak to one of those areas that I am becoming really passionate about. I was waiting until later on in my life and having healed, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. But I was introduced to meditation and centering prayer. And at first it was really, really hard for me to stop my mind. I was in just incredible trauma and stress. And I didn't have tools. I was, the victim. I was into blame. I just didn't understand how you can clear your belief. And from that, I went into breath work and started to take yoga. And one thing that was a huge factor for me, and I know now that moving your body when you're in trauma is huge, because things shift in your cells. Your cells are holding on to all of that. And I'm going to backtrack a minute because I want to link everything together, because what happens with your body is something called oxidative stress. And you may know that as free radical damage. We talk about free radicals all the time because our world is filled with talking about antioxidants, which are what counteracts the free radicals. But the real name is oxidative stress. And when you reduce that, it is the effect of reducing information, the symptoms and the processes really of disease. They're rogue cells trying to attach onto healthy cells, causing dysfunction and dysregulation, all kinds of things. And oxidative stress really is a root cause of almost every disease, at least over 200 diseases. So that's all connected. And when you're stressed out, that creates oxidative stress. Breathing is really, really important, but breathing also creates oxidative stress. When you think about cutting an apple, an avocado, a banana, metal, everything is rusting, and that's an oxidative process. Well, that is happening internally to us as well. It's a much slower process. But I also learned about breath works. Just in a couple of breaths, you can change your energy, and that's always free, always available. I don't care if you're driving your car, if you're with a group of people, you always have your breath. And they're very easy, short techniques, because we breathe very shallowly and we need to breathe deeper and belly breathe and get oxygen to all of our organs. Another huge thing is hydration. We really are not as hydrated as we should be. And that has an effect on a lot of disease processes. So really be sure to drink a lot more water. And please drink it without the chemicals, without the additives. Try to find really good, clear water. And that's a whole topic of another video. So anyway, I want to share a couple of things that are very distinct and very personal. And I've been really trying to find where is my space and how I can help bring people to emotional wellness. And I took a very intensive program called Intuitive Intelligence. And really, our heart is another brain center. Our heart actually is the reactive motion. Our emotions hit first, and our emotions and our heart tells our brain what to do, for cortisol, for all these responses that we have. It's really first felt. And in a split second or two, then the brain is notified, okay, send these hormones over here. This needs to batten down the hatches over there. But really, it starts with our heart. And so I took this, it's called Intuitive Intelligence. And even really the special forces of our military and things use these techniques. And that's how they've been able to capture certain people and troops and be very quiet, because when you start working together and you're dealing with intuitive intelligence, they can react and act as one. And so this is really, really big stuff. And I'm not going to go into that, but I want you to know about it. And so that's where that started. And it created a lot of healing for me, and it's healing your inner self. We can have all of these belief systems that we developed when we were a young child, depending on what your circumstances were as a young child, that becomes your operating system. And it's usually for survival. All of our families have unique situations. Some people have lost a parent. Some people were in foster care. Some people had parents that just didn't know how to raise children. Some children have been through some pretty awful things. And my background actually is early childhood education. I'm always interested in behavior and the roots of behavior. So really watching how people act, and we pick that up and we think that's who we are, because we weren't verbal, but we found ways that worked for us as a baby and a toddler before we were verbal. And then it's often to think of, that's how we think, that's how we work, that's what I know. And so many of those are outdated and not appropriate for a life today. So going through this contentious divorce, and I had one child that I had two daughters, and one child was a very conflicted personality. And I kept striving to find, how can I help her? There weren't patterns of behavior that I could really figure out, and neither could different psychologists. And I'm going to say this out loud, that my former husband kept blocking her from getting help that she needed, and thinking and accusing me of thinking something's wrong, and your mother thinks this and that. She was a very conflicted child. She was a very brilliant child. She was a unique child with thinking out of the box, and we need those minds. And I have taught gifted kids, and these are special times right now where those personalities really can thrive to reinvent how to deal with a lot of the situations we're experiencing in our world today. And so fast forward, in this contentious divorce, my daughter ended up taking her life in her father's home while he was home. And so it's been a very big journey of another thing that's called parental alienation. And that's when one parent targets the other parent and really turns your children against them. So that had been happening for a number of years. And it is very, very toxic. It is not well known. It affects over 22 million children just in North America alone. And it is really something that nobody wants to talk about, nobody wants to deal with. And I'm still dealing with it 25 years later. And now it's in a new generation and affecting my grandson, who's 5. So I didn't speak about this for a very long time because I didn't want to jeopardize the relationship I had with my older daughter, or family members, or people don't believe you. People think you're making it up. People think people are just mad at you. And they're very, and also when I went through this, there was not that much information. We did not have the internet. We didn't have cell phones. There was a couple of books out, but I knew that was happening. Judges, therapists, and attorneys still do not understand it, and often rule in the opposite, the alienator, which their behavior patterns are very significant, but it's the children that are our collateral damage, because how will they grow up? How will they grow up? And the cruelty and the things that are done to the parent that's being targeted are beyond what most people have to deal with. But you almost have to be quiet, and you have to pretend, and you have to be super nice and take the abuse all the time. And it's almost like if someone was accused of a false crime and they're in jail, they're going to be yelling and loud and researching and asking attorneys and finding counsel and fighting this no matter how long it takes. But when you are a targeted parent, you create havoc doing that. And then you're looked upon as crazy. And then it happens very fast with your children. They become radicalized and almost like a cult mentality. And here's the other thing, is that the children have very specific, there's 8 pillars or 8 different factors that really show if that child has been alienated. It happens so fast. And by the time you're just starting to get a divorce, I don't know about other people, but already my self-worth was down. I'm in contention with this other parent. So, and maybe preteens are thinking, well, kids are going through the divorce too. They're thinking this, they're thinking that, the other person's saying this about me or that, and this is happening. This is very different, and it happens very quickly. So I want to speak out and bring awareness to this, because by the time you realize somebody is really doing this, your children have really gone against you. And it's almost miracles if they come back. And it's not like they've done studies. Abused children still want their parents. Incarcerated parents, children still want their parents. Foster children, they still want their parents. Alienated children hate their parents. It is unnatural. And it's talking to adult alienated children that came out and realized what happened in their childhood and what they held for so many years. I mean, some people might be 50 years old. They see then what has happened, and there are very specific things that they have. They knew this was happening, and they knew which parent was correct. They're like caught in the middle, and they can't go against the other parent no matter what they do and the things they're asked to do. It really, please educate yourself. And so the other thing is having a child take your life, losing a child, and the ongoing, it's like a marathon of emotional trauma that is ongoing for years and years. And so where I found the spot that I can help people is managing who you are after either experiencing those traumas so you can go on with your life, or managing being a targeted parent. And so the tools I've really learned are about our mindfulness, our mindset, self-care, tapping techniques. I've learned Reiki, which is a Japanese technique for relaxation and moving your energy. We have to take care of ourselves. Targeted parents may not get their children back, but they're dealing with even teachers or other family members, judgment, all kinds of things. Think about it, what it's like experiencing a suicide of a loved one. I'm in a support group for that. Many people have lost a spouse, and they're dealing with their children and their trauma. And of course, the loss of a child in general, whether that child was sickly, was in an accident, all kinds of things. So I've put together a program, and I think it's very, very reasonable. It's $125 a month, and you get 2 personal Reiki sessions. You get a weekly group tapping session that's specific maybe to suicide, to loss of a child, to alienating, and also some affirmations. I mean, that's 2 Reiki sessions plus those group things. And that can be on a subscription ongoing. But to me, and now with the holidays, dealing with these things during a pandemic, it's like you have to put the oxygen mask on. And I do clearing belief work. We have to go in when you do those kinds of practices, and when you're taking care of yourself, when you're meditating, a lot of those things that need to be healed come to the surface. Is it easy? No, it's not easy. But if you want to be whole, if you want to feel better, it's ways and tools of releasing these types of things so that you can be happy again and joyful. You can make good decisions. That's one thing for parental alienation that's so important. You need to appear very emotionally well. You need to, we want our health. Our health is so important. And, you know, when you are in a constant state of fight or flight and trauma, it really affects every cell of your body, and your cells have memory. It stores it. So I know for me, I was doing the wrong things. I was suppressing things, and I didn't know. Didn't want to feel things anymore. And I was just so pent up. So one thing that really helped me tremendously was spinning. I was cycling 3 to 4 times a week with the top cyclists at the health clubs I was belonging to, and following those best instructors. Just, you know, you get in the zone, and also it releases all of that from your cells. And what I know today after studying trauma, that is a huge way of releasing trauma: movement, shaking, dancing in specific ways. by top experts that I have learned. I've gone through some different healing modalities, and I would like to share those. So this is where I can help people, and I'm going to start another program as well. I did a beta for women with children in the beginning stages of divorce or just having divorced. And it's a 4-week module, and it just touches on some of the things that I wish I had known and I could mitigate to help diminish the trauma associated maybe with a high conflict divorce or any divorce, and to be there for your children. Just doing those simple things. We don't dive deep because there's so much emotional trauma just going through divorce, figuring out 2 households, finances, children's well-being, and that sort of thing. So I want to be sure that I'm marrying the nutrigenomics to take care of your body, and sleep and water and healthy lifestyle and movement. And then we really need to work on the emotional side. So I have a course coming out. It's called A Journey to Wellness, while at the end of a divorce or right after a divorce. And then I have a monthly subscription. So please reach out to me. I wanted to put all of that collective together. That's where I can serve. And so if you hear me talking about parental alienation and suicide, I want to be able to speak out and have a conversation. Our children are in extreme danger right now. The numbers are up for everything. And with the pandemic and couples being together so much, either a marriage has gotten better and a family's gotten better, or it's caused a lot of conflict and a lot of people separating. I recently shared my story, and I feel like I came out of the closet because, again, I knew that this can affect my other daughter, it can affect family members, but this is my truth. There's much more to the story that I would like to reveal in a solo book. But this book is called Ignite Possibilities, and it is about something that you have overcome in your life, and it had to turn it around into possibilities. And we each have a quote. And my quote here is, "You are not the pain you have known. You are the possibilities you choose to live into." And the possibilities that I'm living into is to make awareness of parental alienation, because people don't even know this exists. It's like a silent killer. That our assets are our children, they're our future. If they are being put in these situations, they are not whole and complete. How will they be as adults? How will they be in the country and the culture? It's a serious, bigger issue than somebody being mad at somebody else. I'm so proud of it. I'd never written anything before, and I hope you find it very insightful. If you'd like a copy, let me know. And we've won 2 awards. I'm sorry this picture got chopped off, but Amazon bestseller, international Amazon bestseller in 8 countries, and we just won a special international award for impact, an impact book on inspiration. So that's a lot out of me, but I really have felt I've had all these components, and I wanted to make it clear what I do and how I do it. Thanks so much for tuning in. You can go to my webpage. I have an Instagram, Wellness Matters You Matter, Facebook page, Wellness Matters You Matter. And I'm still working more on my website. But please, if you're interested in any of those services, please reach out to me. If you know it will help anyone, please let them know, because there's so many people suffering in silence. And I want to show them that they can learn to be happy and feel joy again, no matter what's going on in their life. Thank you.